Welcome back to another video, Vanners. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at Moonlight's sound system and see if we can figure out what's happened to it since we brought it out of storage. Since we brought it out, it all of a sudden just stopped working. The ironic part of this video is that it's about fixing sound with no sound. I forgot to hook up the mic to the audio camera for some reason. Anyway, let's get into it and we'll take a look. We'll see if we can figure out what's going on. Here I am checking the connections, just getting it to wire it up. On the overhead console is where I have all the switches for all the interior power. So the lights, the stereo, the amp, anything that's connected inside is all wired through the overhead console. I had fixed that all last year, took out all the spaghetti wiring from the early 80s and rewired it all with modern wiring. Here I am checking underneath. I've got a few loose wires down there that are running for power. So I'm checking those out, making sure that they're all good. So here I am getting under the hood of the van to check the wiring that's going to the secondary battery. I'm going to make sure that everything is connected there as well. Well, at this point, everything under the hood looks good. The battery's all secured, all the wiring is connected to it. So back inside the truck we go. So once again, we're going to check the wiring underneath. A couple wires that run through there. Going to make sure they're nice and secure. Nothing's come apart. And then we'll go down and we'll check the wires that are running through the firewall to the battery, as well as to the fuse box that's just down below there as well. So everything down there looks good. So now we get back in, and here I am talking about the overhead console that I rewired last year.
Well, it would seem like I'm a bit of an
as I
idiot.
mentioned earlier, are all the switches for everything inside. The amp is powered separately from the stereo. The lights are wired up to a separate line. The CV is wired up to a separate line. Everything in there is all brand new as of last year. So theoretically, something could have come loose. Now we've got to open it up and take a look.
Power's good
So
at the battery.
right here
Power
I'm mentioning how there's power to the battery.
Now we got to track it
There's
down.
power going to the stereo. You can see a faint halo inside the stereo, but it's not turning on fully. So what I want to do now is I want to open up the switches, and I want to make sure that there's power going to them for the amplifier.
This is seriously something I would never have to do.
Remember, folks, make use of that good old wire tester. The multimeter comes in very handy. Make sure you check it on all your wires.
Power going there. Power going out.
The confusing part for me here is that I've got power everywhere. I've got power to the switches. I've got power coming in. I've got power going out. I'm checking all the switches for power everywhere. To the amp, to the stereo, CV, to the lights. All the switches are working.
Somewhere in this orange line.
Well, it's a little confusing to me at this point why nothing is working for the stereo. So since all the power is going into it, I have to check the wiring that's going out and make sure that all the power is actually getting to the stereo. Don't judge me on my poor wiring here. Better than it was, I'll tell you that much for sure. But I have to open it up and have to take a look. So here I am just talking about how I'm putting the
Couldn't just
things
be the
back
fact
in
that the
loosely
stereo's
because I
playing.
have a habit of losing screws
Because
and
that would
wires
suck.
and bolts and just poor planning habit. So I'm going to make sure everything is tucked back
I have a
in
habit of
slightly.
doing that.
Make sure it's all tucked away nice.
I mentioned earlier that
So since I've checked everything else,
this is the
I figured I
second
might
day
as well
coming back
pull
to
the
work on
stereo
this
head unit
because it
out
was
of the
too cold the
dash
first day.
and check the wiring that's
First
actually
day was about
attached to
2
it.
degrees. Yeah, it was
I'm
a nice
talking
day,
about
but
how this has
too
taken me
cold
2
for me.
days to do. The first day that I was out trying to work on it,
Today when
oh,
I came out,
beautiful day,
13
was
degrees.
very cold. So
I'll
that's why
take
I'm
that.
back at it for a second day. Here I am pulling the unit out of the dash and checking the wiring. At this point,
Looks like
all
the
the
fuse
wiring
is
looks
good,
good.
but
I haven't pulled the fuse,
may
but
actually have
I've
to get
taken a
pull
look
it and
at
check
it,
it out
and
to
if it
look.
looks solid, it doesn't look blown at all. So let's continue on. Check the wiring. Here I am checking the wires,
Why
and
the
I
hell
give
didn't I cap
myself
that
crap
properly?
because I didn't
That was
connect the
stupid.
wires properly with a proper connection. Just twist tie and electrical
Like if
tape.
that's the entire cause of my problem.
Be
That'd
really
piss me
annoyed
off.
with myself if that was the entire cause of the problem.
Fucked up because of my own stupidity? Wouldn't be the first time.
But it
That'd be
certainly
normal.
wouldn't be the first time that I'd done something like that, that's for sure.
Yeah. Over there.
So at this point, I'm rather confused. I've got
Well, I
power
got
to
power
the
there.
stereo.
Alright.
I've got power going everywhere it needs to be. So the only thing
Alright,
that I have
so
to check
power is all
is
good.
the fuse. Even though the fuse looks good, and there's no
Don't
reason
worry
for
about
it to
that,
be
it's just a
blown.
bit of power antenna.
So I guess that's the next thing that I have to check. If it's not the fuse, then
Do
it's
that.
the head unit itself,
I'll
and
pull
then
this
that'll need to
fuse
be
just
replaced.
to be 100%
It's
sure.
cheap head unit, but
And we'll go from
still,
there.
hate to spend
Alright,
money if you don't have to,
check back
right?
later.
So after grabbing a spare fuse out of the back, pull this one out, and we'll see what happens. New fuse is in, and we'll put it back into the dash.
Are you kidding me?
Connect some power. And guess what? We have full power going to it. Now, while I do have antennas and it is connected to it, I always use my music through the Bluetooth, so that's what I'm playing with on my phone at the moment.
Yeah, baby. So, turns out it was just that fuse. I decided the last thing I'd do before I put everything away and decided to go buy a new stereo, thought I'd check that fuse. Well, turns out that was it. So, as you can see, the stereo is working now. Power to it. I hope you can see it through the glare. Anyway, it's working. But here's the deal. Like I said before, I'm totally new to any of this crap, so I'm just figuring out shit as I go along. When you have a fuse, I don't know if you can see that there. The fuse itself is not blown, not by any stretch. But one side of the diode inside is leaning over and touching the other one. And one side of the diode is leaning over and touching the same side that it's leaning towards. That caused it, I guess, to die. For pretty much everything in the van, especially all the electronics that I did last year with the new wiring in the stereo. And so I had a spare. I thought, well, let's try it. So I pulled this out, popped the new one in, and boom, Bob's your uncle. We got tunes, baby. So, we just got the stereo fixed, and you know what it's like. You do a repair on the van, you got to take it for a test drive, even if it's a stereo. So, sorry guys, I can't play the tunes for you, as it would probably break some YouTube law and credits and all the rest of that crap. So no tunes for you, but I'll put something in the playlist for you so you can hear what's going on. Let's go for a drive. Guys, that's it for today. I'm going to enjoy the rest of the cruise. That's enough for today. Until next time, keep on trucking.